please stand for the invocation? Father, thank you for this beautiful day and for giving us the opportunity to do good for our town. Please bless all that are here and give us the wisdom to make good decisions for our town. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Could we have the roll call, please?
Mayor Holbrook, Councilmember Hayes,
Here.
Councilmember Worley,
Here.
Councilmember Charles, Councilmember Eberhardt,
Yes.
Board Member Frank Hartzell, and Board Member Ken LeBlanc.
Here.
Okay, we can vote on the consent agenda.
Oh, yes.
Okay, I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Anything from the audience? Bring it back for roll.
Who seconded that?
Pardon?
Who did the second? I didn't hear. Ken?
One or the other of us,
Yeah.
between the two of us.
Yes.
We did it at the same time.
Yeah. Councilmember Eberhardt,
Yes.
Board Member LeBlanc,
Yes.
Councilmember Hayes,
Yes,
Councilmember Worley. You can vote, it's a CRA meeting.
I can?
Yes.
Oh.
You are part of the CRA board.
Even though I'm
It's governed
okay.
differently than
Yes.
town council meeting.
Okay, and then before we get started, I think that our town administrator has a note to tell us all, just so we can go through the meeting and understand what's going on.
So at our last CRA meeting, we were tasked with meeting with Keep Lake Placid Beautiful and also with the CRA so that we could discuss some of the different objectives that we had. We had the meeting, and it was a very good meeting. We talked about that. I actually, at the end of it, said it was very robust. I believe we got a lot of feedback. It was very productive. The only thing that I wanted to caveat is that this meeting, we're not supposed to vote on anything because we're supposed to go back to Keep Lake Placid Beautiful and to have that meeting to discuss whatever it is we come up with here today. And that meeting is scheduled for December 19th at 8 a.m. In order for us to be able to publicly notice the meeting properly and for us to be able to put it out to the public and ensure that we're meeting the requirements for the sunshine, it's been requested that we hold that meeting here opposed to the chamber office. I will put a notice into Mr. Brantley, the chair for Keep Lake Placid Beautiful, and also notify Ms. Jennifer with the chamber so that they're aware. That will allow us to be able to make the notice properly and for it to be recorded and for it to all be able to be televised so that the public will be able to participate. Did I miss anything?
So we can't vote on anything today?
We can't vote on anything today based off of our last meeting that we were going to discuss everything and then take it back to Keep Lake Placid Beautiful.
I don't remember that, but that we were circumventing ourselves to get back to them.
Okay, so on the 19th, then we'll be able to will we vote at that meeting? No.
We wouldn't vote at that meeting. It would be our January meeting that we would vote at.
Okay.
So we're really pushing back the ability to do anything because we're relegating it back to them. And so, I mean, things that we want to do there are things that Keep Lake Placid Beautiful are going to work on, right? I mean, downtown, the Interlake, the landscaping. So we talked about all of that. But there's other things that they're not involved in. They're not involved in signage. They're not involved.
No, that's correct. You're correct.
So, I mean, we should be able to vote on that. And they weren't involved in anything on Main Street, re-landscaping of the crosswalk on Main Street. There was no discussion with them about them being involved in that at all. That's something that came up when we realized that there was no landscaping. Well, there's mulch and Bahia sod.
Right,
Was
that's
all that
all.
was planned.
Correct.
So can we vote on things that have to do with that are outside the scope of what we were talking with them about?
I would have to defer to our council to make that decision.
Mhm.
I just wanted to bring forward that anything regarding Keep Lake Placid Beautiful's purview that we've typically had them involved in as far as plant selection and things of that nature, that we had agreed that we were going to make those decisions with them at the table.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect that, we're doing anything to do with interlake landscaping on the ground. All that stuff, they're in the middle of, and I understand, I mean, that, the next meeting that's coming up with them. But when it comes to interlake, where we're just talking about other things, I don't think that we should have to wait for them in order to be able to accomplish anything.
Well, it's all
because-
Lake Placid. Both of the streets are Lake Placid. So keep Lake Placid beautiful would to me be the oversight. But you want me to call council and see what he says?
I was under the understanding, I thought he was going to be here. However, I know, that I'm not sure. Bill Brantley?
Because things that are in the purview of the CRA and is recorded as a CRA project, we should be able to vote on that.
Correct.
Things that are Keep Lake Placid Beautiful's area, of course, we can't mess with that without them.
Yes, ma'am.
But if it's on our CRA packet, our
It seems that we
CRA
have
budget,
A question
Yeah.
already.
Mhm.
Shall I put it on speaker? Let me put you on speaker a minute.
Or is that,
Do you want him here?
he can come. Is that Mr. Harris?
I mean, either way, do you want to do speaker or do you
If
want
we
to?
can, is that appropriate, if he identifies himself?
I don't know, he would know that.
Yeah, we
All
can
right,
do.
all right, let me put you on speaker. Okay, you're on speaker.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Bert.
So who you have here is Councilman Eberhardt and City Administrator Rodriguez and Acting Mayor Debra Worley and Ken LeBlanc and myself. And our question was,
We wanted to clarify, Mr. Harris, for the record, that we were not making any votes today in regards to any of the plants.
I can't understand one word.
pass it down.
Musical phones. Hi there, how are you?
I'm well.
We are in conversation because it was the understanding from our previous meeting that we would not be voting on anything regarding anything that would fall under Keep Lake Placid Beautiful's purview, any plant selections and things of that nature. And that was the discussion right now, is that anything else that falls under the CRA that would not be for that purpose, we would be able to, except for anything that we would need to be consulting with Keep Lake Placid Beautiful, that we're supposed to come back to the Keep Lake Placid Beautiful meeting on December 19th at 8 a.m. Is that your recollection?
That is my recollection of what we agreed to do, but the CRA has the authority to vote on whatever they want to, whenever they want. I mean, they don't have to wait on CRA. That's their decision.
On Keep Lake Placid Beautiful.
Right.
Okay.
It's
All
what
right,
I think
that
we
answers our
talked
question.
about,
Yeah.
Yes.
but that's their decision.
It's at their discretion.
Yes, ma'am, it
Okay.
is.
All right.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Thank you.
Call me anytime.
Thank you.
You just hang it up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All
Now
right,
we know.
thank you, Nell.
All set.
Okay, so you're going to guide us through this, correct?
Yes. Well, I'm going to try to. My screen's blue.
Oh, did you get it?
No,
you see this one?
I can,
You got it or I got it?
I'll drive by looking at Deborah's.
Okay. Here,
Do you want me to
just
drive it?
No, no, you're good. I can see.
I have my mouse if you get stuck.
I don't know why mine goes blue. So our first item, we're going to let,
Nope, that's the minutes.
oh, I'm like,
Scroll down.
keep going.
Okay.
Okay, you want me to scroll? I'm gonna
Sure.
scroll.
Right, so next we're going to discuss number 2,
So-
CRA 24-25 project updates and a project list included for reference. A would be Mainstreet Beautification presented by Ken LeBlanc.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so it came to our attention that the crosswalk did not have any real landscaping planned or scheduled. I mean, it's mulch and behazard. So it's not the look that we're looking for, in our downtown. So I went there with TWQ and we took a look at it and talked about what things we think would be ideal to have there at the crosswalk specifically. And let me ask, Charlotte, did you find out if there's any funds left over from that project that could go towards lands? Zero, okay. All right, so what we came up with, and can you show the rendering that I marked up? So there's a drawing, the drawing for the crosswalk, which I marked up, showing what me and Alex from TWQ came up with as far as landscaping. And if anybody wants to look at the hard copy, you can, but this is it here. So looking at this picture in front of you, if you look in the upper left and you see the green area, what I did was I drew pavers on there. So what we would like to do is put pavers in that area, and then we'd like to put 3 pots. 3 pots having irrigation, so there'd be self-watered flowers and stuff. Down below it, what we did is we put pavers around the perimeter of that one. That one is a retention pond, but not the entire thing is retention pond. So the flat top area, we looked at putting pavers, and then at the bottom flat part, put a boulder and then put river rock in the bottom to just roll with the theme that it's retention. And then the angled sides, we would put a grass that flowers. What do you call that? Woolly grass? Bully grass. Muley grass, which is something that you use in retention ponds on the side sometimes like that. I think that would be a nice look for that. Then if you cross the street, you'll see the area. I've got 3 pots there, and we put pavers in that area, right? And then below it, we would re-landscape that. There's a few hedges that we would pull out, and we do a 2-layer planting there, making sure that the plants aren't getting higher than 3 feet, because we know people are approaching the crosswalk there. So we'd make sure that we kept those lower. And so that's what we had come up with to do here. Then TWQ gave a quote to put these pavers in and to do the landscaping and to do the irrigation for those areas. Now, his price is requiring that irrigation be at the planter, and then he'll take the irrigation at that point and he'll bring it through. So I don't believe there's irrigation in the left side yet, because somebody was going to get a boring underneath the road so it could be connected from the center median to there. So he's looking for that bore to go through there and be connected and then just stubbed up with a cap, and then he'll tie into that. And there's already a sleeve across the sidewalk from bottom to top on the left side. So he would take care of the irrigation with that. On the right side, he'd tie into the existing irrigation that I believe is there in that island. And then he'd do an irrigation box underneath the pots. So the irrigation would come into there, and then he'd whip out of those into each individual pot. So now his price does not include the pots. So I went to 3.5 hours from here is a place in Bakersville, Barbersville, that sells all these pots. And so I chose, working with the owner there, 2 sets of 3 pots each. And so that's what you see down here. And so like the one on the left would go on the left side, and the one on the right, I believe, would go on the right side. Alex and I brought the pots out there, put them in place, kind of worked them to see what color scheme would look best in which areas. And so and then we took pictures of it, and the pictures are included in this presentation somewhere. Can we show those? Yeah, they're going to show those. And then, so what I'm doing is, my parents agreed that they would donate 3 of these pots, and my mother-in-law agreed that she would donate 3 of these pots. So I'd like to just put a little label on probably the big pot there that says donated by, just like we do on the park benches on each side of the street. The other thing we have to address is, if we hire TWQ for their price to do this crosswalk work, then they're going to put the flowers in. So their price includes putting dirt, putting flowers inside these pots, right? What we don't have covered is maintaining them. So until next year's budget comes along, when we can then budget in hiring the town can budget in hiring somebody going forward. So I'm volunteering myself to maintain all the pots that we're talking about here, and in the future ones we're going to talk about down Main. It would not be me personally. My flower guy who maintains all the flowers in the Journal Plaza, I would be paying him to maintain all these flowers, right? So it'll be done through me. You guys won't have to pay anything. So next budget cycle, then that'll drop off. So I think, so if we agree with the cost of doing this, then hiring TWQ, then we just need to make sure the town supplies the irrigation to that one island, and the rest would be covered. And I think maybe before we look at the numbers, talk about the next section. So the next section is the brown boxes that I think Harry had built in Main Street. We would like to do something different there and upgrade that. And what we have in mind is take those boxes off, and those boxes are still good shape, so they can go to parks or something somewhere. So we priced out doing at first about a 4.5-foot circle of pavers at each of those locations with an irrigation box in the middle, and then putting 3 pots like these, but tall. They'll start with a taller pot at 6 locations. Now, when Alex and I went out there with these pots, we set them in the middle, and we realized that 4.5 would not be a big enough circle. We have to go to at least a 5-foot circle. If we want, we can go to a 6-foot circle. So he's repriced it with a 6-foot circle. So this picture here, you see the big red pot there? That's this pot here. But we need a pot taller than the red pot in order to be in scale with what we're doing in the island. And so I don't have a taller pot, so I had him hold the pot up to show that we'd have 3 pots, a taller one the size of the red one, and then one the medium size. So we would have 6 locations of 3 pots each, all planted with flowers. So TWQ has also priced out doing the paver circle, putting the irrigation box in, setting the pots with dirt and flowers and getting them all ready. So he's got a separate price for that. Also, down by Interlake in Maine, we noticed that the flagpole has landscaping around it, and so we've included a price to put a curb around that planter area, so it would be a hard curb of paver type material. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just be like a stone edge with a cap above it. So maybe
Okay, so a stone edge with a cap above
Can we
it.
have your name for the record,
Sorry,
please?
Alex from TWQ.
Yeah. So we'd have a ring, and then he would add some landscaping in there. There's 2 rose bushes. He'd add 2 more rose bushes, and there's some blue days in there, so he'd finish off blue days on the rest of it. So, so as we do that, we would dress that up too. So these 2 bids, if we were to go with these 2 bids, then we would effectively take care of everything on Main that I see us taking care of for, for the next year at least, There are some other areas like at the crosswalk on the right side, there's bigger landscape areas and stuff. I don't think we have to do everything all at one time in 1 year. So I think this is enough to take care of Main, for the year. And Interlake is more work. They're fixing sidewalks, they're fixing curbs, they're fixing asphalt. So, so that's like the next animal that's harder to handle than what Main Street is. So Main Street, I'm asking you to approve some things on Main Street first, only because it's easy, it's fast, and these things could be done by the end of December, right? Interlake is going to take more effort. We got irrigation issues we're trying to get, figured out and stuff like that. But I totally, in the month of January's meeting, I'm hoping that, Keep Lake Placid Beautiful, working with TWQ or other contractors, can put some numbers together, and we can start talking numbers, and hopefully in January be able to approve something so that Interlake is getting re-landscaped. So I'm still working on this deadline of March in Home and Garden Television, being on TV in March. So I want to see if we can get this accomplished. Now, in this case, we have 1 bid from TWQ for 2 different projects. We don't have 3 bids from 3 subcontractors, but this is how we got everything done quickly, and I think his prices are really good for what he's doing and accomplishing. When we get to Interlake, I understand it's a bigger job. We probably need to get 3 bids, and stuff like that, right? Because it's going to be a more expensive project and probably could get over a threshold for that requirement. Last thing, the pots on Main, down the street, those 3 pots that you see the picture there, they're not selected now, so I would suggest that if we do approve going forward with this, that me, Charlotte, maybe one other person do a field trip somewhere to buy the pots that we need. Now, I just realized today, yeah,
Sorry, just check, Robin's Nursery has Mexican pots that you guys can also look at and select.
they have bigger pots than the big one here?
Yeah, could you get,
Pull this up, pull the
Sorry.
mic up.
Yes.
There you go.
okay.
Okay, so I found that the place, you know the gem mining place on the right-hand side of 27 on the way to 98? Somebody told me that they have these decorative pots, so I drove up there. Every time I go there, I've gone there twice, they've been closed. So I haven't been able to get back in the yard and look at them, but I could see them through the fence. So yeah, these 2 smaller ones, they've got all kinds of pots like that, so I'm sure we could find some pots, but we need bigger pots. I don't think they've got pots as big as the big one, and they don't have bigger pots than that, I don't think. So if we can buy some locally, maybe we will, but we'll have to go somewhere that has the size pots we need, and I think it's going to take a field trip of probably 3 people. Now, if we go back to Barbersville, I'm not saying we have to go to Barbersville. There's a few other places I'm being told that you could look. You know, it's like 3.5 hours away, but the owner there said schedule with him, and we'll meet him at a certain day and a certain time, and then he'll, you know, what he did with me, we pulled pots down. We kept checking, you know, moving pots. No, this doesn't look good. Trying to get the right color schemes. He would work with us to get our 6 color schemes, and then we could have him deliver it. And he also, on the tall pots, he would be willing to paint the pots a different color if we needed them painted, right? So we don't have everything being all the same colors and stuff. So that's my kind of whole explanation of everything. And so beyond that, you know, any questions you guys got, I'll try and answer.
Several.
Yeah.
Several. You talk fast, but I write faster.
Yeah.
So I got you,
Okay.
okay? These are all the things that I would like to know. First of all, I understand you're trying to get things done quickly, but we still cannot spend taxpayer money quickly without going through the proper steps. I don't know what the threshold is for when we have to have more than 1 bid, but this is an $11,000 project. I also know that you can't divide a project into smaller amounts so that you don't have to go to bids. If this is past our point where we have to go to other bids, we're going to have to get at least 1 more bid, if not 2.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the fact that TRQ is doing all this at cost, but there are other vendors and local vendors that may also want to bid at cost, and I think we owe it to our constituents to go to these people and make sure that they either choose not to bid, or we go out, you know, farther yet to find other bids, but to make sure that we're doing the best that we can with these taxpayer dollars, because we can't just, in an essence of time, just go out and spend,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah,
But I still have a list.
No, I was going to comment on what you're saying, though.
You want me to stop you next time you're going?
Oh, okay.
Okay. You can make notes too. I'll borrow you a pen here.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in here you have put pavers on the corner where we're building the new crosswalk. I was never under the impression that there were going to be pavers at that corner. I was always thinking that those corners, those little triangles, were going to match with what was going down Interlake, that they would be mulch. And I understand you want to do pavers down the center of Maine. Well, okay, that's another question, but, and pavers are nice, but to fill that whole area with pavers, what's it going to do when it rains? And where does the water go? Where does it flow? Does it pile up? Does it flow through the pavers? Does it go back into the street?
Are you referring to that picture right there?
No, I'm referring to
talking
the
the crosswalk.
triangles, the crosswalk, the triangles at the crosswalk. It was never my impression that those triangles would look any different than these right here, because these are all nicely done, and they have mulch in. See, I thought all that was going to be mulch, and I figured flowers because there's mulch there and there would be water. I didn't think there would be pots there. I think that's, you know, I don't know, maybe it would be better in flowers, but anyway. But my concern is with pavers, do they drain? And how do they drain? And are they going to drain well enough so they don't fill up that corner and spill over into the street? And then what happens for the first car that jumps that corner and breaks those pots? Who replaces it? Okay? does that go to the insurance of the person that broke the pots? You know, or what is it? If we put flowers there, it's a whole lot cheaper to replace it than it is pots. Now, the pots that go down the center of Maine, that's fine. They have grass on both sides. They have some time, if somebody were to lose control, they could decelerate before they cracked into the pots. But these are right on the corner, okay? So that was number 2. And number 3, you purchase the pots out of town. I know that Ibanez has pots. I know that Robbins has pots. And if they have pots, then they could probably get more pots and get them bigger than we need to. And I think it's very important that we keep our money in town, or at least local vendors. Robbins is not in town, but Ibanez is, and he does have pots, and has spoken to Lake Placid Beautiful in the past about pots. So I'm quite concerned that these are coming from out of town. And I realize that we have donors that are paying for the pots in this case, but how much are these pots if we do try to match them? How much are they? And then and the pavers versus mulch, the drainage versus the mulch. I wrote that down twice, okay? Okay, your turn.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if somebody were to jump the curb and hit it, the insurance on the car would be responsible to pay for it. I'm not too worried about that. I don't really expect anybody to jump the curb, especially at a crosswalk itself, because a crosswalk naturally slows vehicles down even if nobody's in the crosswalk, because theoretically they slow down to look and make sure they don't hit somebody at the crosswalk. So I'm not too worried about it. You know, if a pot breaks, yeah, a new pot will have to be bought by the person who damages the pot, or if worst case scenario, we don't know who did it, then yeah, we're going to have to buy another pot. But I don't think that that's a reason to not do a project. Drainage, on this picture here on the left side, there's a drainage grate, so the water goes straight into the drainage grate. This area, if it goes to the right side, it goes into the retention pond on the right landscaping area. As far as where to get the pots, I went to Robbins and they didn't have any pots like that would have worked in this case. I went to Jose Ibanez, he didn't have any pots that would work. He just, said check out a website and something like that, and you can get pots from a website. But it's not the same trying to get something online as going there in person, pulling this pot, trying, no, that color doesn't work, grabbing another pot. I mean, this place I went to had 1,000 pots. I mean, it was crazy how many pots they had. So we spent hours, trying to get the right pots to work,
How much are the pots?
These pots cost $913 total for all 6 pots.
For all 6?
All 6,
Okay.
yeah. And the tall pot that they would have, and I'm not saying we need to go there, but the tall pot that they had there was much less expensive. It was like, I think $150, and this big red pot was $200 and something. There's a price tag on it. So there are some pots that are even less expensive, but again, I don't really care where we go to get the pots, And as far as mulch, I mean, I think that's a horrible idea to have that area just mulched. And if you got flowers on the ground, we run into that same problem on Interlake, where who's going to weed the ground, right? It's a lot easier to maintain flowers in a pot than it is to maintain that whole area of flowers on the ground, where weeds are constantly coming through everywhere. And how do you get into it without stepping on flowers to pull the weeds and everything else? So this makes it, a lot easier. To accomplish that. As far as bids not exceeding, Eva or Charlotte, what is the limit? You can't, $10,000? Okay.
I remembered it was $10,000.
So it's
Yeah.
it's $10,000 when you got to go out for 3 votes, 3 quotes?
Yeah.
Votes, not 3
Okay.
votes.
Then the two, if we were to do both of these, today, that would be over $10,000.
It's 11.
Yeah, it'd be 11,000. If it were me, I'd say, if we can only do one, let's do the crosswalk and let's put the other one out to bid and get some more bids and come back with it, right? The one down the center of Maine, you put that one out to bid, right? But I'd like to see this as soon as possible, meaning we're right in high season, landscaped much nicer than the Bahia grass and the mulch that went in there today, right? And so that's just my take on it. Did I answer all your questions?
But now I've got rebuttal there, because
Sure.
the grass will also grow through the pavers. I have pavers in my house.
Yeah,
And-
my
and
guy
grass
will,
will grow through the pavers.
Yeah.
And you're still going to have somebody that's going to have to maintain the flowers and the pots. Well, they would be maintaining the whole area. So, we've got to think about what's going to look consistent around the town. And I love the pots. I mean, they're great. I love pots, and those are beautiful. But I just don't know that that's quite the right place for them. It seems like all of our little triangles in the whole town are mulch and flowers, and we can have mulch and flowers there without pots and maintain them like we're going to maintain the rest of it all the way through town. And you don't have to worry about, who's going to walk through it, because, you would put down the black visqueen or whatever you call that, and then you put the mulch, and then you spray it and make sure, that the weeds don't come through, just like you do anywhere else.
yeah.
So, and then you have the plants in the middle.
So my guy who would take care of these flowers for the next year, he would spray herbicide on the pavers if he ever sees grass coming through the pavers. That's just part of what he does.
You could, or herbicide on mulches as well. I think Joy has something.
Yeah, I want to put in my 2 cents worth. I like the idea of pots rather than plants in the ground and mulch. Mulch deteriorates fast and it looks really bad. Pavers, it's easy to spray the weeds. And so I like the idea of the pavers and the pots. And just because we don't have that on Interlake, who knows, maybe we're going to follow this theme on Interlake. So just because they don't match right now doesn't mean anything to me. My concern is establishing a theme for the town. I had envisioned classic, tall, not modern, but plain pots, where then the plants would really pop off the top. The flowers, I think, are going to get lost in with all the patterning. But that's just my opinion. What I want to get back to is that we should agree on, have the citizens and whoever agree on a theme for the town. Because once we start with this, we're going to be stuck with this.
Yeah,
So
well,
we need to,
yeah.
do we want classic, subtle, what is that, magnolia, Waco, Texas
Terracotta.
style? Or do we want flowery Hispanic style?
And the reason I chose these was because of the art theme we have going through town with the murals, with all the garbage cans that are painted, and the Journal Plaza. I think the reason why it's so successful is because of the psychology that went through everything that we did there. So it was very purposeful the way we designed that project in many different aspects and ways. So as I was thinking about how to landscape this, but how to get people out of their cars and how to get them to feel our downtown, that's where I thought these would come in this spot and down the center of Maine. However, when we get to Interlake, because when we get to Interlake, I'm not sure that, I wasn't thinking these, I was thinking they would be more plain, just single color, because we really want people to see the buildings, and we do want the flowers, but we want people to see the buildings, and the pots will be right in front of the buildings, Over here, they're not so much in front of the buildings like they're going to be on Interlake. So this is where I thought we could try and catch a theme and try and evoke some emotion from people, and hopefully get them out of their cars. And so that's the theory behind why I chose these specific pots for here, and I was thinking for Interlake to do it. And we have a lot of Hispanic around here because of we're a farming town, and so I don't think it's bad to pull some the Mexican pot idea into this thing too, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's just part of our culture in this area and has been for probably 100 years, with the agriculture.
I agree with Joy.
Yeah.
I like the plain pots. I the same thing about the, I couldn't put a word to it, but now that you've mentioned it, it's that kind of that Mexican
the
culture thing.
aesthetics.
And yeah, it's pretty, I like it, but I don't think it's where our town belongs. And I mean, the flowers across the street in your plaza are gorgeous. And I think these are going to clash with that. And you got a flowery pot, now you got flowers on the top of it. It's too much flowers.
Yeah.
Well, I guess my conclusion is, I would like to have input from other people before we settle on a particular theme.
Yeah, we need to, as Colleen's
Yeah.
always saying, we need to have a workshop.
Maybe-
Since she's not here, I'll speak for her.
Yeah.
We need a workshop.
Maybe so. I can use all these pots at the Journal Plaza. You know, I have other places I could put these pots all day long. While I'll donate these pots, I'm not going to donate a whole second round of pots, you know. So, but the other pots you're talking about are much less expensive than these pots, right? Those are not in this price range at all. So, I really honestly don't care, all said and done, what the pots look like, so much as that we get something done there that is not mulch and is not flower beds that are a nightmare to get weeded and everything else, right? So, and while I will, you know, if we do pots, I will maintain those pots, you know, until next budget year. If you do flowers in the ground, I'm not paying to maintain flowers in the ground. I mean, that's a nightmare, you know, that I don't want to get involved in, right? So if we're talking about planting flowers in the entire bed and everything, we'll have to find some way to get it maintained for the year, right? You know, because it's a whole nother level of maintenance, right?
Yeah, I definitely like
Yeah.
the idea of pots and pavers.
Yeah,
It's just a question of the design of the pots.
yeah, understood, yeah.
Yeah, I can live with the pots. I just don't think I can live with those pots.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else from you? Okay. So I like the pavers, and I live with the ugly forbidding. I'm sorry. There's nothing out there but 2 trees now, and there hasn't been for a long time. We've lost our sponsorships. I like the idea of pavers, and the maintenance will be no problem because they have to go up and down the sidewalks and spray, you know, weeds in the sidewalks that grow up in the sidewalks sometimes. So they already do that. I watch them do it. So I don't think that's going to be a problem.
Right.
I like the idea of the pavers. I love the idea of the pots. I think when you put the flowers down on the ground, you lose sight of them. I mean, they're not like, it's just beautiful to see the flowers up higher where you can really see them, and they don't do well. I don't know if it's because we're on the ridge or what it is. I think that it's much better to have them off the ground. So that's my comment. Did you have another comment, Alec? I saw you standing up there.
I was just going to say the pavers were going to be sealed as well. So that would help to, you know, I'm not saying you're not going to get weeds coming up down the road, but it would help prevent that. And like Debbie said, you know, people downtown, when they're spraying the beds or the concrete cracks, they can easily, you know, touch up those paver areas.
Okay, I'm good with that. It's just I'm envisioning, because the area is quite large for the amount of, I mean, we're putting a lot of pavers there. And to me, it loses the grass, the landscape idea of it, and you're going to concrete, if you will, versus grass. And so I'm more of I mean, imagine that I'm a golf pro, but I'm more for grass than I am for concrete, so.
I think the pavers will give it a clean appeal, very
Yeah.
clean. And the
Yeah,
pavers also
concrete's
give
clean.
it color with decorative.
Yeah, concrete's clean, grass is pretty.
Yeah, and then the pots with the flowers will also be adding, you know, quality topsoil that's going to benefit the flowers. And we're going to have the, flowers and stuff that kind of draping down. It's going to have some green in it with some color, which will offset some of the high bright colors of the Mexican pots. So having the Mexican pots with some green will definitely make it pop. Not just clash with the colors.
Yeah, and the idea is that
There's
there's
not enough
vines, green vines growing down the sides of the pots, you know, down onto the pavers and stuff. So, you know, I've seen pots in downtowns, in probably half a dozen downtowns in the last year, just through traveling that I've done. And that seems to be the theme in a lot of these small towns, is above ground pots with flowers. Now, whether the pots, what they look like doesn't matter. It's just the idea of that. You know, I would also throw out there, you know, yeah, I'm trying to move quickly, but, you know, we're trying to, you know, meet an artificially set deadline of March to get stuff actually done here, and we are in the middle of the season. You know, if we do go ahead and do the pavers and we do the flower pots and everything, I don't know when we would get the other pots, you know, that you would want. If you want to get them locally here, you can get them at Robbins. You can maybe get those pots at Ibanez. But you definitely get them at Robbins, you know, at the minimum. So if you know, the CRA can fund buying those pots and getting them out there to get planted, I mean, if we hired TWQ, this would be done by the end of December, right? The pavers and the pots planted and everything else. If we, so we either, you know, if we approve it, set it up and get the pots, you know, meaning Charlotte, you know, you and me and somebody else or whoever can go to Robbins and just pick the pots. If that's going to take a longer time to accomplish, meaning, you know, we need more time or more votes or whatever, if you wanted to just plant these pots temporarily, and when you find the pots you want, my flower guy could just replant everything into the new pots and I'll pull the pots away. No question about that. But that's just because I do want to get things done quickly, just because we're in the season. And we're trying to knock things off the list to get to the bigger thing, which is Interlake Boulevard, you know, which is a much bigger project, right?
And so maybe that would solve the problem. Do you think that if he went ahead and did it and then people just went, ugh, then they would be replaced with something?
Or we could start with getting the pavers down, and then the pots would be the last item anyway.
Yeah.
True,
So
it
So at
is.
least get that, the foundation down.
Yeah,
If-
I
yeah.
could go with that,
Yeah.
because I mean, you guys are gonna convince me on the pavers, but I'm sorry, you're not gonna convince me on these
No,
pots.
That's fine. I have no problem with that. But if we vote on this, then maybe we can vote to say that Charlotte can go buy the pots, you know, or something, so that we don't have a quote, we don't know what the pots are going to cost, but, you know, give her the ability to buy the pots, right? Without having to come back and get a vote on the cost of those pots.
How many pots do we need altogether?
Just six
to do
for
all
this,
down Interlake? I'm sorry, all down Main and
24 total.
24 total pots?
But we're just talking right now, I think, about getting this done for the holidays, this part of it done for sure.
Well, because we can't do both, because it's over 10,000.
Right,
So we could
right.
approve the crosswalk now, get that done, but then we're going to have to go out and get another quote or two to then compare, so the next time we meet, we could approve down Main Street, right?
I think it's important to get the crosswalks done, because at our event the other night at the chamber, the kids were playing in those crosswalks like they were sandboxes. And, you know, I'm like, oh, there goes the sand, we're gonna have to
Yeah.
bring that in again, you know?
Yeah.
But yes, I think
Yeah.
that would be good just for public safety, but
Yeah.
I don't think that we should put pots out there, like these pots now, and then take them up, because then we've told people we're doing this, and then we're backing off from that.
Yeah,
Let's
that-
do no pots.
I agree,
Okay,
right?
that's
Not
fine.
put these out there and then replace them, because people are going to say, well, now you're spending more money.
Right,
Not
right.
realizing that you're taking them back.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Or that he donated them. and
Yeah,
they-
or, yeah, they just wouldn't realize that it was donated,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then.
Well, I think we need something on there, though. I mean, if you fill that in with pavers, people are gonna be falling down, I can tell you. I watch it outside my office all the time. We need to put something there so people see it's an island, and it gets dark at night. And I'm just saying, if you took those pots away, and there's just this raised area right here, people are gonna be falling, so.
I don't
know,
think
we
they'll
put
fall
a-
any more with the pots than they
Yeah.
will without the pots, because the pavers are gonna be
Flush.
flush with the top of the
Correct.
concrete.
Correct.
So they're not gonna
Right.
fall in that.
Well, see, like in front of the store where Ken is, it's a small little triangle, but there's a light pole in it.
Yeah.
Okay, now you take the light pole away,
Yeah?
and now it's just a little step there that I don't know, I've seen people fall in Lake Placid so much.
So you're almost admitting right now that if we put pavers in there, people are gonna fall?
No,
And
I'm
it's not
saying,
something
I
you
mean,
wanna
if you
admit.
don't put, well, there's a light there, so maybe that'll be fine. There's a light pole there?
Yeah, that's
So people
the
will see
crosswalk
that,
pole.
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
that's the crosswalk pole. There's the same thing on the other side. For the light, you know, that flashes when you push the button?
And the curb is white, and the pavers are going to be a reddish color, so
Okay,
there's a
that's
color
good.
differentiation.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't safe, the DOT wouldn't have designed it that way.
Right.
Right,
Correct.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think if we could go ahead with the pavers there, and then that wouldn't be a big expense, and then we can put everything else into another bid and put it out for other bids, because like I say, you can't take a bid like this and split it in an effort to avoid going through the proper channels.
Yeah, no, I get it.
It's not
Yeah,
legal to do that.
No, I'm cool with that. So can we pull up the bid for the crosswalk and look at that?
I mean, does everyone like the idea of the Main Street, the pots with the circular pots?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm
You like
okay
that
with that, but
idea?
not those pots.
Just getting another quote.
Just-
Okay.
There's a different pot.
And again, I don't mind you guys going out for bid at all. My goal is to help, get things
Yeah,
moving.
You're not
and-
into pots, I know.
and beautify this town. So
Yeah.
if it does help, I'm willing to donate the difference so we can keep it under 10,000 both jobs, if that helps.
Oh, to do both jobs for.
If that helps, just to speed things up.
Oh,
And if the crosswalk, I can't promise the Main Street, but if the crosswalk gets approved, my goal is to try to get it done before Christmas.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So that way that's, looks nice for Christmas time and New
The
Year's.
crosswalk on Main is not, isn't that a county road? Do we have to get any permission to do that from the county in order to put those pavers in?
We do, and Dennis had filled out the application already. I have that on my notes to look at, but yes. JD was not opposed to it, but we did have to fill out the permits for everything.
Okay.
So, well, let's look at,
And this, I'm sorry, the time frame it is depending on water, obviously.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Water needs to be at each location, yeah. So,
So are you saying that we can't just do the pavers? Well, we'd have to do irrigation too, wouldn't we, before we did the pavers?
Well, yes, because before I lay the pavers down, I have to make sure there's water in the
Right.
middle
Yeah,
to
sure.
feed the pots.
Sure. But are you saying that your quote is not going to be good if we just pull out these parts?
I'm sorry?
Are you saying that this $11,000 total, you can't hold to that because we're pulling out parts? You have to rebid on the other parts?
Pulling out parts, I don't,
Well, we're not going to do the whole 11,000 because we can't without more bids.
no, I'm saying that I will donate the remainder, the extra 1,000,
he'll drop his price.
I'll
down
drop the
to
price to
10,000.
keep it
Oh,
under 10,000.
okay.
Threshold, so he'll take 1,000 or 1,000 something off, get down to the 10,000. If we want to approve both projects, he'll just donate the rest.
If you guys want to.
Just so that we can get it through under the threshold.
Yeah.
Is that legal?
It's within our spending limits, but,
I mean, I'd call that
Yes.
negotiation.
and it's in our CRA plan, so
Yeah.
it covers it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, if he agrees to go down to 10,000,
Is it 10,000 or 9,999?
I think it's 10. I think it's
98,
10.
98.
I remember voting on it, it's 10.
Okay.
But it might be a little over 1,000 you're dropping
Yeah.
it, because it might be 11,000 and change.
So let's go over each of these quotes real quick. So in this one, which is the crosswalk one,
Which one are you looking at? The number
The
on the
w-
quote? What's the number on the quote, top right?
493.
Thank you.
So at the top, it's sod budget for disturbed area of the crosswalk. They've put in some bahia grass like today. He would pull the bahia grass out and he would do floor tam. Floor tam, I mean, listen, those islands, are weeds, but it's more floor tam than it is bahia, and floor tam's gonna look better. I think they were originally planted with floor tam and they've gone to weeds. So he's gonna pull that up and he's gonna put a pallet worth of this sod. Then the silver buttonwood bush, that's on the left side of the crosswalk in the center. And then the sunshine mimosa goes around that, right? That's at the right bottom of the picture we had looked at before. The mulch for designate, okay, that would be other areas, which is not actually going to happen now. So, because they mulched it already, right? So that basically can come out, but he's dropping his price anyways, so way beyond that. Then irrigation budget, so budget to adjust the irrigation for new materials, so he needs the irrigation in each island, which they all have. Well, 2 of them have irrigation now. 1 of them you got to bring over with a boring under the road, and then he can take that and do the other 2 areas, right? And you're going to put under the flower box location, you'll do like a round irrigation box or a rectangle one, something for the pots to go on, right? Then the decorative pavers for the islands. If we approve this, then I would say, maybe me, Charlotte, somebody else get together and pick the paver itself, right? He might even have the chart here that we could look at today. Maybe we all select it together. Okay, the creek pebble for the dry retention, so that's the stuff to go at the bottom of the dry retention pond. You also, at the very bottom, he has a boulder to go in the middle of it, and surrounded by this, 3 to 5 inch rock, and the cloth, the muley grass, that's going on around the angled portion of the retention pond. And then he's got the materials for the flowers, for the flower pots, and installing all of those into flower pots, right?
Let me tell you, I can't say that word.
Muley.
That funky grass?
Yeah.
People are not gonna walk through that, because we've put that on our
Yeah.
golf course too. Put people where we want them to go, and it does
Keep
great.
them out of
They do
areas.
not
Yeah.
walk through that.
Okay. So this is everything for the crosswalk.
And I put 6, but once we do it, if 4 looks good, I'm just gonna put 4. You know, just, I wanna, once it's all out and laid out, depending on how it looks, I'll put 6
Yeah.
to 4.
Yeah.
And we'll also be, putting silicone under the pavers, the pots to.
Yeah, to glue the pots down, basically, so people don't just walk off with them. Okay. All right, you want to go to the next one for the center? Yeah.
Somebody walks off with those pots, I want that guy working for me. 'Cause
Yeah.
He's a strong guy.
Yeah. All right, so the hardscape, so this is 6 locations, $450 each. Now, this is the 4.5-foot circle, though. We were talking about doing a 5-foot circle, so they would actually be a 5-foot circle. So in the approved one, it would be for 5-foot circles. Irrigation, each one of those boxes have irrigation in them now, so he's going to utilize that irrigation to go into the flower pots. The stone edge, okay, around the flagpole, so that would be a stone edge around the flagpole so that it's not just going from dirt to grass. And plant budget for the flagpole, we talked about adding a little bit more plantings there. Okay, then let's see, flower budget for pots. So these are the flowers that are going into the pots, and then the labor to set it all up and glue it down and all that stuff. So the two of these together add up to, I don't know, $11,300, $400, something like that. So he's agreeing to drop it to $10,000 if we want to approve these two things.
Okay, we haven't asked
Oh,
for
we
the
gotta buy
audience.
the pots still.
I'm sorry, what?
So, but we got to buy all the pots. So while we approve him for 10 grand, we've got to have a budget so that Charlotte, can buy the pots for all of these things. So it's 24 total pots. Yeah. So we need to know that if we do this, he can go ahead and get the pavers going and everything while we're finding the pots to buy, and Charlotte, writes the check to buy them. So if we approve this, we should roll into another motion to approve Charlotte buying pots, right, for these locations. Sound good?
That's gonna be about $3,600 for the pots.
Yeah, we don't have a motion yet, but I wanted to hear anything from the audience, anything from our directors.
Alan Kiefer, Public Works Director. I would caution against the diameter of the circle. You don't want it too large. 5.5 might be fine with the 3 pots in there, but you don't want to encourage people to walk and stand around them unless you give them a safe path to and from it, and also you don't want them just standing in the middle of a roadway either.
Yeah, the reason we did the size was we were trying to make sure the lawnmowers didn't hit the pots. So at 4.5 feet, we felt that the pots would be too close to the edge of the pavers. That's why we decided to increase it to 5, so that the lawnmowers can do a circle around it with their, the deck going just over the edge of it, but having enough room that it wouldn't accidentally hit a pot. That was the thinking.
Could you hand the mic over? Did you have something, Harry?
The other thing, the garden club is the one that always maintains the rose bushes and mulch around the flagpole on Main Street, so you may want to talk to them before altering anything in that area. It's probably ultimately our decision, but.
Yeah, we were just going to add to what they did.
Yeah, we're
but
maintaining
we
their
could have a conversation with
design,
them.
which is making it.
Yeah, you don't wanna upset the garden club.
Yeah.
We're
No,
adding the
that would
same
not be
plant
good.
material.
We were just adding what they already had, filling it in with what they already had. So, but we can talk to them, and I wasn't planning on taking care of those. I was taking care of all the pots, but not that. So that would still be for them to maintain.
Yeah, I think they kind of have, I think they feel ownership of that, don't you fellas?
They've taken care of it for the 20 years I've been
Right,
here.
that's what I'm thinking, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we'll talk to them, but we are just enhancing what they're
Yeah.
doing. Yeah.
The last thing is probably timing. A lot of vacations are happening this month, as well as all next week. We're prepping for the Christmas parade. Being able to get the irrigation from the center island over to the crosswalk, whatever you want to call it, Peninsula Island, that might be an issue to be done before Christmas.
Is there a bore scheduled to go in there?
It's
No?
already there.
It's already there? Oh, so all you have to do is tie the pipe in at the center and slide it through
Just
there.
need to find the main line and push it through.
Alex, maybe you would just do that. I told you, we know where the line is, and he knows where the bore is, so if he shows you the bore, would you be able to make the tie-in, slide the pipe over, and then you'd have your
We'll
water?
have to look at it, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if it's something that we can do,
Yeah.
I was told it has to be poly pipe. It can't just be PVC. Probably like what the water department uses, the blue poly, or because it's going under the road.
Mhm.
poly pipe under the road?
The blue poly.
Oh, okay.
Not the.
But you don't think utilities department would be able to slide that in between now and near the end of the month?
They might donate the parts. They wouldn't do it for us.
Who would donate the parts?
The water department might.
The utilities department, like Placid. So they'll give you the parts, but they won't do the connection.
Right.
Okay. So, yeah.
Alan, if you were able to give us a timeline that you feel is feasible with the staffing and the things that you've pointed out, when would you think that would be possible? Your professional guess.
I don't have anyone in my crew that would be able to just go out and do it. I will be back right after Christmas.
Well, if you guys donated the parts, could you guys take the poly pipe and do all the connections?
What do you think it's going to entail as far as labor? I mean, how many men, how many days?
I haven't been out there to see what it is or if the main line is already uncovered. If it's not, we would have to dig it up and find it. It shouldn't take more than a few hours, but it's just a matter of.
So a few
Yes, it's
hours
just a
to
couple
do that,
hours
and
work.
one or two guys. Any equipment that you need specific equipment needed?
Just shovels.
Okay, so if we maybe meet you out there with my team, we can kind of go over it. If something we can do, I mean, can we take care of that? Is that something you think we can handle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Physically, I have no doubt that you're capable of it.
Okay.
I just don't know that we are allowed to do it without hiring anyone. Can they work on town infrastructure?
Okay, so, anything
you're-
from the public?
Yeah, I mean, if you're estimating it should only take a few hours, and you guys are supplying the parts, I don't see a problem with that. But then I will have to look at it.
Yeah, okay.
Mark Schneider, Chief of Police, for the record. Just a quick question and a couple observations just for safety. One thing that I would like to know is exactly how tall the larger pots are going to be if you're going to put them in that area. And with the plants going in these pots, have we looked at the heights they grow up to be to ensure that there is not going to be any obstruction of any of the traffic control devices? Also, if we are putting a boulder into the retention pond, you may want to be very careful with that. I appreciate that you don't believe that crashes will occur there, but they will. Large rocks like that, we've had them in our parks before, and cars have hit them, which causes liability for the town, because we chose to put those large non-movable objects in there, and they are on the right-of-way. Just something that the town, the CRA and the town may want to think about prior to moving forward.
Okay. Yeah, that, while it's called a boulder, it's not really going to be a big boulder. It's recessed into the ground, so that retention pond drops down, so it's going to go from the lower level up, and it's probably, we're talking like this big, you know.
Okay.
It's
I
not that big
appreciate
a
that.
pond,
The one that
yeah.
we had before was no more than 2.5 foot high.
Yeah.
But it still stopped a vehicle dead in its tracks
Yeah.
and caused considerable damage and injury to the vehicle, to
Mm-hmm.
the people in it. So it's something that we have to look at from a
Yeah.
safety aspect.
Well, I think if somebody hit it, it would be, they'd go over the first island that has the pavers, they'd go through the pots, over the crosswalk, down into the ditch.
I would
Because-
hope so,
yeah.
but I am not going to rule out someone driving north in the southbound lanes. It happens quite frequently down there.
Well, yeah, okay, all right.
I mean, I'm just.
Yeah, no, I
this
get
is-
it, I get it. And then as far as how high the pots are gonna be, I would expect that the biggest pot won't be higher than that one right there. And the flowers would just come up and go over the sides.
But the
Okay.
total, from the top of flowers to the ground can't be over 3 feet, is that right, on a corner?
Over 3 feet is what we shoot for, yes.
3 feet,
That is a line of sight issue
yeah.
that you want to maintain. You want to maintain good line
Yeah.
of sight to ensure that you can see children and people when they're
Yeah.
stepping out.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah, so the
Yeah,
whole thing
yeah.
in its completion,
Mhm.
the pot plus the flowers can't be
Yeah.
more than 3 feet from the ground.
Yeah.
3 feet high.
Okay.
And I think our town administrator would like to.
I was just going to make a comment that I will get with Rachel Osborne, and we can confirm also with our risk management, just to make sure for safety
Yeah,
aspect.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
and I
understand,
think-
I understand the aesthetics of having the rock, the boulder in the middle, but if we don't, can we just not do it and save $500?
I don't think it was $500 in the bid, but, and he's already come down over, I think, $1,400. So,
But why is
but,
the boulder in there, just for
Just for
aesthetics?
effect, just for look, you know.
Maybe can we just, like she said, just do without the boulder?
We could,
Because
Yeah.
that would eliminate the
Yeah.
liability there.
yeah,
Yeah.
could do that.
One more thing, I meant to ask, what type of sub-base was going to go underneath of the paver circles? Because we have an issue right now in Stewart Park where the roots are just upheaving everything and wreaking havoc because all it has is a border on the outside and sand underneath of it.
We-
So if it would have some kind of
Yes.
solid,
Yeah, we usually use shell rock and what is it called? The screening.
Screen deck.
The screen material. And we pack it in as well.
okay.
Yeah.
So
And the-
you'll
the
pull
roots-
sand out.
The roots stay in the
Yeah.
pots, right?
Needed, yeah.
The roots of the flowers stay in the pots.
Yeah, I think he was referring to the live oaks.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, sorry.
The pavers themselves.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I think there's going to be some coordination here, and we have a great town administrator that maybe we all going to have to work together on this every step of the way, just, yeah, I think that everybody knows that. I think we all want the same thing. We want it to look nice, we want a new look for our town. I think it's all progressive, I think it's good. So I think everybody in this room wants to work together and make our town look better, so I think we can do it. I think we can do it. Do I hear a motion?
Do we have a quorum? Can we vote?
Yeah. Eva said we do.
Yes, we have four.
We do have a quorum, okay,
4, and there
Okay.
were 7 boards.
Um,
okay.
Mr. Anderson,
Hey there.
your
Ken-
name for the
Ken
record.
Anderson with Merchants Association and New to You Furniture Emporium. When I was doing a little bit of research, that was one of the questions that I was thinking, especially on Interlake where there's such a confined area to work with for the pots. They do make them that look, well, they're a little more, I think they're more like what we're looking for, that are made out of vinyl. So it'll hold the plant, and you can certainly irrigate it. I don't know if the paint will hold up as long, there would be more research, but if everybody's interested in safety, and I especially think on Interlake, we might want to look into the plastic ones. $99 for one that's 3 feet tall, that is the look I think we're looking for. So,
Ken, does it say on there the longevity? Because that was one of the questions that I've been asked about in regards to the pots, is how long they're going to last.
if you'd like, I'll take a minute to try to find that out.
I was just curious,
I
just for
haven't
the
found
group.
that.
And we can't have a 3-foot tall pot if the
99.
total can't be any higher than 3 feet. So it has to be like a 2-foot tall pot.
Yeah.
And
They
then
also
a
have
foot
one
of
that's
flowers.
20
At the crosswalk,
23.5
at the
inches.
crosswalk, not the ones in the middle of the island. I mean, there, the ground's already going down.
Oh, yeah.
And then we're
he's
gonna come
talking
up.
about Interlake.
Yeah,
There's no
oh, yeah,
island
on Interlake,
Interlake.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
They range from about 15 inches all the way up to about 6 inches. Yeah, me too. Correctly. These are real pretty, but I think they're safer to be
You could show it to
Yes.
Miss Hayes and
Yeah.
Ken LeBlanc.
Yeah, I saw it, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, see, that's more what I'm talking about, something calmer.
And I'm completely okay with that.
Ken,
Yeah.
did you see that?
I did, yeah, he showed me first,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so we've kind of we've got 2A and 2B, waiting for, no, I guess 2B not, just 2A. So could I hear a motion?
So can I make a motion to approve TWQ to do the crosswalk work, I think as quoted, and to do the round paver areas down Main Street, the second quote, in 5-foot diameter circles, scope complete. But what we would approve is a total cost of $10,000. And on the crosswalk, there's a few things where, we're not going to do the boulder, right? Yeah, I think that was it. That I think was the only change.
Did you need clarification?
Yeah, and the mulch. You're not going to do the mulch, and you're not going to do the boulder. And you're going to lower your price to $10,000 for both of these quotes collectively, right? And then you'll work with the town to try and get that irrigation to the center island since the boring's already there, right? Yeah.
So
Do you need it-
clarification on, yes, I do need clarification on the motion. Are you going to include that our town administrator look for the pots at a certain dollar amount?
Should I
or
do that in this
You
motion?
can do it
Oh, I
all
could
in
do
one
it.
motion. So originally, let's start over.
Yeah.
You're going to approve TWQ for the crosswalk as quoted.
Mhm.
But I think.
I guess we should not say as quoted because
Yeah.
we're taking the boulder and the mulch out.
How about approve TWQ for a total of $10,000?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
But, and then let's,
And then approve,
Yeah, the crosswalk, the crosswalk without the boulder or the mulch,
so if we could include
In-
that as discussed.
as discussed.
So
Okay,
remove-
yeah,
Move items as
That's fine.
that were discussed.
yeah.
then
And
not
5-foot
divide.
diameter circles on the 6 island areas on Main. And other than that, it's all per the quote. And then if we could furthermore approve Charlotte to purchase the pots, 24 pots for this scope of project. And I would say, give her a budget of not to exceed $5,000. If you think it's probably $3,600, that gives a little leeway for tax and stuff.
But hold on a minute, I think you need to do that in 2 separate motions,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise you're gonna go over the 10,000 for that one.
Oh.
And I know it's not gonna look right if you don't do it in
Um,
2 separate motions.
The only reason I'm saying that because TWQ is not quoting for the pots.
No, that's true, but still,
It's not one.
I still think
Right.
that should be 2
Okay.
separate motions, because it's gonna be 2 different areas of money where we pull that money from, and we have to determine where in the CRA budget that we're gonna pull the money for the pots out of here. Okay, so what, I'd like to look at that a little bit so that,
Yeah.
not to put it off to another week, but just give me a minute to look at where we're gonna pull
Yeah.
that out of this budget.
So I have Councilmember Hayes right at the bottom of that. It says here, recommended motion, of course, you're going to change that to be deducted from the 2024-2025 budget line items, downtown flyer pots. So that would be what our administrator would be approved for out of that line item. And then the rest would be streetscaping, other line item, and that's in the recommended motion. So you could intertwine them if you wanted to, or separate them, but refer to those different line items.
Where is the line item for the flower pot? Oh, I see it now, never
So
mind.
where it says
it.
recommended motion,
I got it. Yeah, we've got money for the flower pots.
so you could do 2 separate motions, one approving TWQ for the 10,000,
Right.
with removing discussed items to be deducted from the 2024-2025 budget line items, downtown flower pot, streetscaping, because the downtown flower pots are going to be under the town administrator.
Okay, so we have just one motion right now. We have another one. We're going to come in a minute, right?
So if we say the motion for Ken, approve TWQ for $10,000, removing items discussed, to be deducted from the 2024-2025 budget line item, streetscaping. That would be that motion. That make sense?
Yeah. And streetscaping, how much money's budgeted in streetscaping?
Where is the streetscaping?
Yeah, streetscaping is on, well, let me see, I can tell you right now, hold on. I have to make it bigger, because I can't read that.
And downtown flower
There's
pots.
flower pots, there's your flower pots.
Okay, it says flower pots, $30,000.
Right,
Yeah.
so that's gonna be one item.
Okay,
The other one
okay, so
is
it's all under the same, it's all under
Yeah.
the same budget thing, but it's
Yeah.
two different sections.
Yeah, see,
One
one of
is
them will
number
say
one.
streetscaping, where is that
Yeah.
one?
Okay,
Let's
okay,
lose
gotcha.
it. There's a streetscaping,
Yes, streetscaping and lighting.
Yep.
I can't find it.
CRA streetscaping and lighting design.
How much is in that budget line?
How much is that budget for that?
I can't find it.
So it's up within the 30.
It's 20,000.
There it
Yeah.
is,
And then the
streetscaping.
flower pots we have is for 30,000.
Okay,
So there's
okay, so streetscaping lighting, you see the one at the top? Here on your screen?
Oh,
Yeah, let's take it out of that category. So
Oh.
you leave the things down for when we talk about it.
okay,
Okay, streetscaping lighting.
okay,
Yeah, I think
It's
it's a
on
good
this
idea.
page. okay.
Did you find it, Councilwoman Hayes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Okay, so, do you want to withdraw your motion and make the one that was
Yeah,
suggested?
I'll withdraw my motion and we'll restate the motion as per what you just said, Eva.
Town clerks.
Town clerk, yeah.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Anything else from the audience? Okay, I'll call for the vote, please.
Board Member LeBlanc,
Yes.
Councilmember Eberhardt,
Yes.
Councilmember Worley,
Yes.
Councilmember Hayes.
Yes,
And then if you want to do your second one.
Okay, so we need to do the second motion for the pots.
Yeah. So can I,
So Ken Block just so moved what the clerk said for the pot motion. That doesn't sound good, does it? Flower pot motion.
don't get me
So-
started.
yeah, so,
Do I hear a second?
yeah, real quick, because hard to hear what you were saying.
Okay, so on the.
Restate the motion
So
this time.
the new motion that
Yeah.
you're going to, that somebody's going to do is to
For the pots.
approve the town administrator to go out to purchase the flower pots,
24?
up to
24,
24 of them, right?
Yeah,
Utilizing local
24
vendors,
pots.
utilizing local vendors.
Utilizing
If
local
possible, yeah.
vendors when possible, or
Yeah, if possible.
If
Yeah.
possible.
is there a dollar amount you want to put on it?
I think we need to have at least 5,000.
$5,000.
5,000, okay. From the 2024 budget line item, flower pots, downtown flower pots.
Just a question, if we designate local vendors as a preferred vendor, that means that we could purchase from them even though there was a lower bid somewhere else, if we designate them as preferred vendors, because they're local. I think it's like when you give a contract to a minority business, they're a preferred business, so they don't have to be the lowest one, they're a preferred. I would like to do that with this, that we would designate local vendors as a preferred vendor, so we could buy from them even if they are not the lowest bidder.
And on this particular one, you're not meeting the $5,000, the $10,000 threshold for quotes. So you wouldn't have to go out for quotes.
Yes,
But in your motion, you could say preferred local if possible. Or if you say preferred local, we'll just leave it like that.
if we say preferred local, that way if they're not the lowest bidder, we can still go with the local people, because I think we need to do that. And it's a $5,000 thing, so it doesn't have to have more bids, but I know you're going to call for more than one place, it would be silly not to, so.
So do you amend your motion to include the, if possible, preferred local vendors?
I don't want if possible, I
No, I
want
took
preferred
that out.
local.
So approve the town administrator to purchase 24 pots utilizing preferred local businesses. $5,000 from the 2024-2025 budget line item, downtown flower pots.
Why can't we say
Okay.
designated local vendors as preferred?
Designated local vendors.
But I don't know, the only person in town, I mean, would be Do It Best, it would be Jose Ibanez, but Jose Ibanez doesn't have the selection of pots.
But he can get them,
He can order
I
them?
bet you. And,
Yeah,
and
maybe
also,
so.
I mean, local would still be Highlands County.
Okay,
So
so
you have
you can go
Robbins.
to Robbins if you need to. Robbins has pots, yeah, okay. All right, that's
If they
fine.
have pots, if they use pots in their business,
Yeah.
they deal with a pot vendor.
Yeah.
So they would get
Yeah.
other pots.
Yeah, yeah, I think we just probably want to put our hands on pots and see them before we decide what to buy. I don't think we want to order them from a catalog and then get them here and say, well, that's not what I thought it would be. So that's my only take on that.
So you order
But,
one, they come
yeah.
in, you look at it, you
Maybe.
say, I like it, I don't, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, but I like that you said it's countywide we're talking about.
Yeah.
For local, yeah. Okay, so let's amend the motion to include preferred vendor, county preferred vendor, right? Yeah,
Approve the town administrator to purchase 24 flower pots utilizing designated local businesses up to $5,000 from the 2024-2025 budget line item, downtown flowers.
Do I hear a second?
yes.
Second.
Anything from the audience, the directors? Call the vote.
Board Member LeBlanc,
Yes.
Councilmember Eberhardt,
Yes.
Councilmember Hayes,
Yes.
Councilmember Worley.
Yes. Okay, so our presenter for 2B is our town administrator, and it is for wayfinding signs.
Eva, is that in here?
I'm going.
She's driving for me, thank you. So just to go ahead and start, our town planner, Ms. Dana Riddell, has been collaborating with Mr. LeBlanc and also with Ms. Deere on proposed wayfinding signs and any associated recommendations. Once the proposal is received, it will be reviewed against the current code to identify any necessary changes. However, due to the time constraints, the designs were not finalized in time for this meeting, and we will be presenting it at the January meeting. The wayfinding plan includes a visual guide for the sign placement. Our town engineer, Dennis, he is here, and so he has prepared a right-of-way use permit for the county, as discussed with the county engineer, who is also now the assistant county administrator, James D. Langford. He goes by JD. We had a call on November 20th. The county requested the inclusion of wayfinding, landscaping, and pervious pavement designs in the permit, and they have been submitted for the county's review and approval. Additionally, Ms. Dana Riddell, our town planner, has advised that a town-initiated code review can take a minimum, this is a minimum, of 4 months, because we have to look at everything in its entirety. During this period, the proposal is reviewed by the Development Review Committee, which includes representatives from the Lake Placid Police Department, the Lake Placid Public Works, our Utilities Department, the Florida Department of Environmental Health, the Highlands County Fire Marshal, Highlands County Natural Resources, Highlands County Engineering, Highlands County Floodplain Management, and FDOT. I note that because that kind of highlights a little bit on everybody that has to come to the table for us to be able to do such a review process. Highlands County is, they're excited to work with us. However, we want to make sure that we're doing it in conjunction with them and not jumping ahead. So the process also includes preparing and publishing the legal ads that are required in accordance with the specific guidelines. Now with that, Ms. Riddell has said that if we needed to fast track it, we could, but it's still going to be a minimum of 4 months. She anticipated that in us trying to get this done by the time HGTV is supposed to air tentatively in March, with what we're being told, it may be April before we could actually get this through. So her suggestion, and she couldn't be here today because she is attending an all-day meeting that is in Sebring today, but she said that we could maybe make some small changes, just depends on what is brought to the table, because we don't know what the designs are going to look like, because we don't know exactly what that's going to entail. We can't really give feedback yet. However, there is a map in here that we would like to be able to show that our town engineer put together with some of the feedback on the placement of where the wayfinding signs would be, so that we could at least look at them. And they are on the screen. I don't know if you can see them. And then some of the other conversations that we've had has been, what will the signs look like? That's it, yes ma'am,
That was
that's
it?
it.
I wasn't
Yep,
sure
that's
that
it.
was all of
So I know it's hard to see, but I'll try and, over here, it's hard to hover over it, but in the areas, you will see where Dennis put them together based off of some of the feedback. We did a walk through the town on looking at where the placement would be. It was very good field trip and being able to look at where they would be best suited. But again, this is really for information purposes so that you have a little bit of information to look at. There will be more to come because after Ms. Riddell receives the information, she will compare it to our code, and then we'll know what it looks like as far as what changes may need to be made. If it's extensive, she has given her recommendation that it may not be something that we can do unless we do the full haul. In that case, we would propose bringing on, just because of some of the other timelines that she has and the other items that are already on the table, that we would engage with Central Florida Regional Planning, which we've already asked them what that might look like, to have them come on and assist us with that so that we could get it done quicker opposed to later. But again, we're still going to look at it possibly falling into the April timeframe if it is a big overhaul. The sign code is new to me. However, what I have heard as far as for signs and banners from the county is that they like our sign code. It makes Lake Placid look a lot cleaner. However, they do understand the wayfinding, and just depending on what that looks like, it could be very beneficial, especially if it ties into the aesthetics that we have with the town and making it still look crisp and clean, and where it accentuates the small hometown feel of who we are. So there'll be more to come on that. Ms. Deere is the one that is heading that up. So we're waiting for some of that information back from her. So again, this is more informational and to provide you with some of the locations where it's proposed for us to have the wayfinding signs, and then for you to be prepared with questions to be able to bring back to us in January at our January meeting. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question already. A couple of them, I looked at this map extensively, and I can't find like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Are they cut off of the map or something when it's in here? I see 6, but I don't see any number lower than 6. So I don't know where those 5 signs are slated to be.
Those are
small.
referring to banners
Dennis,
that
do
would be
you
on light poles.
Yeah, I know.
have a microphone?
I understand that,
I'm gonna call on our
It's
town
supposed to be
engineer.
30 some odd.
There's a map above it. I don't know if we have it today.
Yes, that's half the plan.
Dennis is going to try to explain our town engineer. Thank you.
Yes, that's half the plan. The other plan goes further east. This was the majority of the wayfinding and signs that was discussed in the walkthrough. So this is the majority of the methodology for the signs. It's hard to see if we were to try to zoom in. We've got some of the existing like flags on the light poles. So this plan kind of highlights if we have an existing flag, these signs would be on the opposite side of those. And then the numbers, we're just trying to quantify, how many of them, but ultimately this plan identifies the location and then the style of flag that we're proposing, and then also the wayfinding placements, and then a slight example of what that might look like.
Okay. And the reason there are so many on Main Street and so few on Interlake is that there are more light poles on Main Street?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't think we're going to do a motion on this
No,
unless
I'd like to
you,
make a comment about this if I can. Dennis, the location for A, can you pull the map up some so we could see Main Street? Zoom out. Oh, Main Street's down at the bottom. Oops.
Sorry, my eyes aren't working
Okay,
well today,
eyes aren't
ladies.
working, so I
All right,
will try.
that's good.
I will
Oh,
try.
you went too
A
far.
is Dow Hall in Maine.
Yeah,
there we go.
okay, there, stop. Okay, yeah. These wayfinding signs, they're more for the people walking on the sidewalks than they are for the cars driving down the street, right? So the A would only be seen by cars driving down the street. So A, we had envisioned that going at the crosswalk, either the bottom side of Main or the top side of Main, one of those two. But we figured like maybe where the pavers are going, you know, it could go in the paver area and stick out of there or somewhere in that region. But, you know, if you had it there, you had businesses to the left, you had businesses to the right, and you had businesses up. So 3 sides of that wayfinding system could be basically fully used, right? So we suspected that the best place to put it would be at the at the crosswalk, probably at the bottom side of the crosswalk. Because if you went on the top side over Glenda's side of the road, you'd only be pointing to the right, because there'd really be nothing to the left except the park retention pond, and you can cross point across the street. So don't really agree with where A is located, because all you would do is, I guess, point to the right and point down, but it wouldn't really get people to business locations very clearly, right? So, so A, we just don't really agree with that. B, yeah, I mean, I think either where it's at to the right or to the left works fine. If we looked up at the top, can you scroll that down so I can see the police station?
Oops, wrong mouse. Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Going here. Which way am I going?
A little further. Okay, right there. When we walked this with Margaret, you see the sign to the right where it's saying, you know, Key West this far and this, that, and all that. That was something that was envisioned where C is located. And we kind of thought that the sign that's located at C would go to the right where that is. So they're kind of backwards from where we envisioned them. And whether we do the one to the right is you know, it's up to debate. The reason Margaret thought it was a good idea was because it's all about evoking emotion in people, right? Otherwise, they just fly right by and they never look at anything. So it gives them something creative to look at, and if they're walking on the sidewalk, you know, it gives them something to look at. It kind of ties in. We have murals everywhere, and this could be an artistic type of thing. So that sign there, you know, we had envisioned on the left side, and the other sign to the right. Now, the reason the wayfinding sign we envisioned it to the right was because there's really, up and down that street, there's a lot of businesses on the right side of the street. And to the left side of the street, there's very few businesses, right? You got John's Park, you've got the police station, you know. Of course, you could point from here to the Chamber of Commerce and stuff, police station as well. But anyways, we just saw those as being opposite of the way you showed them, right? That was it.
So let me, real quick. So we know B's down below somewhere. So you would say switch C and D? I think that...
Well, the one on the right...
I think this is D.
No, it's not, because there's another wayfinding sign up high that's not on this map, and I don't know that the other map is here. Do we have the other map on to show or no? Okay, D is up top. The one on the right is not an A, B, C, D or anything. It's just an item by itself. And the D is, so you know where Hartzell's is, the road from Interlake and the road right before Hartzell's. We envision that being just on that intersection on the right side. And
That's Magnolia.
okay, at Magnolia and Interlake on the southwest corner is where we envision the number D wayfinding sign system. And and we also envision maybe asking for a crosswalk there in the future. So like if we did another crosswalk, it wouldn't be as big or as expensive as the one we just did, but there's people are crossing that street constantly, and there's no crosswalk there.
Where is that, Ken?
It's not on the map.
Magnolia and
It's the map that's missing.
Oh.
So it's up by Hartzell's.
Magnolia and Interlake and Ken's saying the southwest
Yeah.
corner, and that's right across from the Home Run Cafe. And,
Yes, yeah.
and at the corner of Hartzell's, and Hartzell's is to the east of that
Yeah,
intersection.
true.
And then the Home Run
Yeah.
Cafe is across the street.
Yeah, so it's in the future, I'd like to look into the possibility of a crosswalk. Maybe it gets into next year's budget or something, but we could talk about that another day.
If I may, I was just going to ask council to look at what would be aesthetically pleasing, what you feel like, no different than our flower pots. As we gauge this conversation and we come back to the table in January, we will ask Miss Margaret Deere to be able to provide some pictures and some examples. But in the interim, if you could send ideas so that we can feed that back to her so that she knows what council is feeling, I believe that that may help as well. If it helps also in her experience, she was a previous owner in signs and also with creating things of this nature. So I think that she does definitely have the expertise, but we also want to make sure that it meets the needs of our community and what council, you all represent our residents. And so
So
what
you're
do they
talking the
want?
wayfinding signage system?
Yes.
Yeah, general?
Yes,
Okay.
the sign on the right
Yeah.
in this little display, I know it's just an example,
Yeah.
but that's horrible.
Well, yeah, there would be
I would
one.
not put more than 6,
Agreed.
2, 4, there's
Yeah,
8.
yeah.
There's 8 on that one. There's 8 would be a total max. I would not
Yeah.
put more than 6 on the
And-
sign.
Yeah, the examples you brought back, what was it, we first started with the CRA, and I was like a metal, I think they were black, they were tied in with existing light poles. Again, that's something that I would see, not this busy,
Right.
Yeah,
West.
I mean, the wayfinding sign is to the left. The one to the right is not a wayfinding sign. That's
Yeah.
just a decorative creative, something different. But the wayfinding sign that shows 8 total on it, yeah, that's the wayfinding system. Yeah, and, but yeah, we have a proposal from one company already, so we can get proposals from multiple companies if we can find them,
I wonder who did
and what
them
the
in
systems look like.
They have them in Sebring. I wonder who did them in Sebring. But that was quite some time ago. that
city
they
of
put those
Sebring?
in. I'm sorry?
Was it City of Sebring? Or
Or CRA.
They're in the city, so
Okay.
I would assume the city of Sebring did it, not the county, but I don't know whether they might be on county roads that run through the city, but they're right around the circle. But they were done a long time ago, but I'm sure they know who did it. And they look real
And
nice.
just so for the general public, Miss Margaret Deere is, she hangs out a lot at the historical depot, our historical depot, if anybody wants to know where
Yeah.
she's at and how she got involved in this. She's very involved with everything, so.
Isn't she kind of in charge at the depot? I think so. yeah.
She is,
I
yeah.
think she has a role there, yeah.
So Charlotte, in regards to this, is there anything we need to do, or you're just on it and working on it, it's moving forward? Okay, you'll come to us at some point and say, these are the design options, let's pick between A, B, and C, style-wise.
We
Yeah.
really want to work with Margaret on what she wants to present, what she feels
Okay.
comfortable with.
Yeah.
But it would help to be able to have some of that information from council so that we can collaborate.
Okay.
And then also we'll be working with our town planner so that we could vet out
Okay.
what this is going to look like.
Yeah,
Without a true picture of what it is, we can't compare it to code to find out whether it's compliant, if it complies or not.
So we could help her
Okay.
task of redefining the code if she knew what to write the code to.
Correct.
all right, so what you're saying is you need to know exactly what the signs are going to look like in the end, to then review it against our code and see if it complies with our existing code, or in no
Correct.
case does it comply with our existing code?
Either way, because we have a very strict code.
Yeah.
So right now, with the very strict code, if we make very major changes, we're not going to be in compliance, and then it would take a total rehaul.
All right, so
And
you'll review that with Margaret, and then in the end, you'll say, Margaret, this doesn't comply with it, or Margaret, this does comply. If it does comply, it's a faster, easier process.
Correct.
We don't have to do the 4-month process if it complies. Okay,
Correct.
so maybe we try and make it comply so that we don't have to do the hard work. I'm sure you guys are already burdened with stuff. But we also don't want signs that are like this big,
Yeah,
so.
no, we
yeah,
want to get the most bang for our buck.
Yeah,
We're going
exactly.
to invest in it, so what does that look like?
Yeah, okay. And then, in regards to where these are located in town, I think it's important that we finalize those locations also. And I think now that the crosswalk is built, maybe we could re-walk down there by the crosswalk and say, okay, now that we see it physically here, where can we put it? Like if, for instance, we were to put the wayfinding sign on that end of town in the actual paver area, then a footer would need to be poured, in the ground, right? When he does the pavers, pour a footer for this thing to get attached to. So that ought to be poured at that time. Otherwise, we're going to pull pavers up, dig it out, pour a footer, and put the pavers back. So if we can figure things out fast enough, maybe we could, but maybe we don't want it in the paver area, you know, that's just.
That's what we need to determine
Yeah,
those
so
things.
maybe next week I could walk with you and, you know, we can just kind of, you know, and Dennis or whoever is involved and wants to be involved, making that decision and figure out what the best place is for it. Because if you're applying for a permit through the county, the
We have to-
locations need to be in the right places.
Correct.
Or it's not going to work, right?
Correct.
So I don't mind meeting with you there next week to try and finalize these locations and get the things switched that were wrong and stuff like that, and get the plan, you know, in compliance. Yeah.
Yeah, I see this kind of a two-part listening, that we need to do location is one issue, and the way they look is another issue.
True.
And that all needs to combine
Yeah.
together to make the county and everybody happy.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And location's fast and easy. That's, you know, just walking town and just making sure that they're in the right places. Now, you know, since we all can't go downtown and walk together, you know, I'm thinking I'll walk with Charlotte and we'll try and finalize it with Margaret Deer. Try and finalize those locations, and then you could talk individually to the CRA people and show it, and they could tell you if they have any comments, or meet
And I
downtown
know
themselves.
And I know
Yeah.
Dennis is busy, but since he has engineering background for the roads, that maybe you could, if you can squeeze in some time to walk with them, so you can give your input for as far as the engineering side of the right-of-ways and things like that.
Yeah, and with the count, you know, the CRA people, I'd like you guys to start thinking about that possibility of doing a future crosswalk over on Interlake.
I think you want to involve your police chief as well, because he has a lot of experience in that as well, a lot of knowledge with that.
Okay?
If
Yeah.
I may, next week, my schedule is very booked. It would likely fall into the following week for me personally. I may be able to coordinate for Police Chief Dennis and Dana to be able to attend, but
Okay.
I have training
Yeah.
next week from Tuesday to Friday.
Okay, yeah, just you tell me what day and time works.
And so we can work that out, just so
yeah.
that everybody is aware that it
Okay,
may not.
that's fine.
Okay, and if we're done with the wayfinding, can I diverge over to banners? Or do you
Yes.
have more on the wayfinding?
No, move
I
on.
think we're good.
Because we had talked about banners, and I think we already have some banners. So if they comply with the code, we could jump ahead and do the banners.
The banners don't comply.
They don't.
They don't, and so that's part of our code and where we have to revisit it. So we already know that we're going to have to. We just needed to know, once we are able to identify this portion, it will help us know how quickly we need to speed it up, and it will allow us to be able to firm up some of the things that we're currently outside of.
So the banners in the vein circle right now don't comply, you're saying? We're not allowed to have those up?
I will tell you what our town planner has told me, is that remember, she's been on about a year and a half, February will be 2 years, that we are not in compliant with our code. So
So-
she's not here to comment on
Yeah,
that, but what she's
that's fine.
educated me on is that we
Yeah.
need to revisit it for that reason.
Is that a 4-month process to, you know, review that and try and change the sign code?
And,
you have-
and you might want to consider that's a 6-month, because if she says it's 4, it's going to be 6.
Right.
Try building a police station, I can tell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so we just need to start working through that process. and-
Once we can
yeah.
get those items, it may be something, depending, again,
Yeah.
on what it involves. It may
Yep.
be something that we can bring to town council, and council can go ahead and put something in. But the big
Quicker.
part of it is
Yeah.
that it opens up a lot of other areas that we have to look at, because if we do it for one, we have to do it for all. And so we have to be fair and consistent to ensure that we're all adhering. So that's why we're going to have to look at it. Regardless, we have
Yeah.
to look at it.
Okay, and Margaret's going to work with you and Dana, is the thinking on banners and, okay.
Correct. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the directors? From the audience?
There is no audience.
We lost our audience.
Lost the audience.
Okay, well, let's just go ahead and move on then to 2C, landscaping and irrigation.
So Dennis, our town engineer, has provided a plan that maps out the existing landscaping conditions, and it provides us a clear picture of the current state of our streetscape, and it will also serve as a foundation for our future improvements. I would like to recognize our staff because they've been tirelessly working. Our Public Works Department, the facilities, streets and parks. They've been working to identify the locations of all of the irrigation lines. Alan and Harry are here, so I'd like to say thank you very much to them and also to Dennis, because we've pulled some things off that would typically take quite a while, but they have been very diligent in trying to meet the demands. The process has slowed down a little bit because of the long holiday weekend. However, I do have some good news. We were discussing in our mutual meeting about the redesign of the islands and whether there would be any money there for us to replant. And we do have $15,000 that has been identified for that. So
Who is the we
In
in this
town?
picture? The town, the CRA, or the Keep Lake Placid Beautiful? Who's the we?
No, it will actually, because it's part of the pipe bursting project where
Oh.
the plants that were damaged or had to be removed. So this is the money that will come out of that for us to replace them. That was one of the questions from our mutual meeting with the CRA and Keep Lake Placid Beautiful that we held. We wanted to know if there was any money available. Well, there is. It's $15,000.
Okay.
We need to move quickly on that, though, so we need for Keep Lake Placid Beautiful and the CRA to identify what plants are going to go back in there, because if there are any changes that we want to make, we need to do that now. I did ask Keep Lake Placid Beautiful just for me to have a better understanding. I wanted to be able to see their bylaws. I want to know what is required of our merchants and also of our residents who fall under this Keep Lake Placid Beautiful umbrella, just to give me a better understanding, because I've been asked, for transparency purposes, what gives Keep Lake Placid Beautiful the right to tell merchants who are running this what they can and cannot plant, or homeowners, what gives them the right if they're not falling under the town's purview and they're not under our jurisdiction, so to speak. So not to negate their efforts, because I know that what they have done has been extensive, and we need them, just like we need the garden club. But it does pose good questions because we need to understand the clear parameters. So I'm waiting to get some of that information back. I know they just had the parade, and so Jennifer did say she was going to get that information to me. With that being said, we need to come up with what those plants are going to look like, what we want to put back in there, because the money is there so that we can move quickly with getting them in.
Can I ask you a question? You know, one of the problems we have is how is this landscaping going to be maintained? Talking with Keep Lake Placid Beautiful, I think we all kind of agree it's time to hire a contractor to maintain stuff, the stuff that we plant. I think we figured it was going to be about $15,000 a year to maintain it, if I remember right. But nobody has the funds, to do it.
Right.
Is it possible that that $15,000 could go towards maintenance if CRA still has $30,000, that we can throw towards landscaping if we wanted to, right, on Interlake? Not all of it maybe, but much of it. Keep Lake Placid Beautiful, I think they have some funds. So is it possible that if we can find the funds through Keep Lake Placid Beautiful and CRA to plant Interlake, that $15,000 could be used by the town for maintenance, or wrong category?
Yeah, because this is for replacement of plants, it's not
Okay,
for maintenance.
so that's fine. So if that $15,000 goes to Keep Lake Placid Beautiful, I don't know if it would, but goes to pay for plantings and stuff, CRA pays for plantings and stuff, then I guess all we can do with that money is pay for actual hard work, and all we can do with CRA money is pay for actual hard work, but we can't give too much money that would then be allowed to be used for maintenance, could we?
We're not allowed anything for
Right.
maintenance.
Through the CRA, we can't use maintenance at all.
Yeah.
And because this is part of the pipe bursting, and typically it's replaced with like,
Okay.
so that's part
Yeah.
of the thing. And we would also need to ensure that we discuss with our staff, because
Yeah.
they are the ones that are helping up with the upkeep of everything, making sure that it is taken care of. And that the plant selection is one that's not going to be burdensome on the upkeep.
No, I get that. So then, next question. If CRA funds and the $15,000 funds can cover the cost of putting the plantings in, then maybe Keep Lake Placid Beautiful has funds that they could pay for maintenance next year. I'm
We're
wondering.
talking about the next year budget, or
Well,
next fiscal
once
year.
we plant it in the next couple of months, how we're going to maintain it until your next year budget comes up, and in that budget, hopefully you can find money annually now, to pay for maintenance of this stuff, because the volunteerism thing hasn't been working, And,
I do think, though, that, you know, it's kind of like, I say, like in front of your house, say that you are your home, and the county has a right-of-way, or the town has a right-of-way. You maintain that because you want your house to look nice. But what if you were said, oh, no, you can't do anything on the right-of-way, and it might look horrible in front of your house, but you don't get to touch it because it's not your property and you can't maintain it. My thought is this: if we have a plan, and it might be an educational process, but if I'm willing to take care of in front of mine and bug Harry to death, how do I do it? So how do I do that? And I'm responsible for replacing plants if they die. I mean, I'd be willing to do that because it's in front of my office, but I've never been allowed to touch it. I mean, I'm not allowed to touch it. I get permission to even water without the irrigation. Had to get permission to even keep the plants alive. So I'm saying, I think, and I'm not sure this will work, but I know how I feel. I would like to, like, in front of and I think if Ken Anderson was here, everybody wants to look nice. Some people won't do it, but I think that most people would. I think they would want to look better, but we need a plan. We have to know what to do. I don't want to try to figure it out. I just want to be told what I'm supposed to do.
well,
So I was gonna say,
Go ahead.
I was gonna continue, because then I have some information on the plan, if that, but I don't want to cut. No, go ahead. You sure? Anybody else? Okay. So, we have our next mutual meeting between Keep Lake Placid Beautiful and our CRA, which will be notifying them that we need to have that here so that it can be properly noticed and also be recorded and minutes taken, and that will be on December 19th at 8 a.m. The goal is to be able to have everybody had a conversation together on what plant selection we will have to be able to cover the median areas, or these areas where we have the damaged or destroyed plants, and then have the money available to be able to take care of that. We plan to have more definitive answers when we have our January meeting. But speaking about the plans that we've been trying to explore, actively exploring low-cost options to create a detailed and long-term streetscaping plan. Once the existing conditions plan is completed, we will be ready to move into the next phase. So what does that look like? We want to engage the community, and we want all stakeholders to be involved. That means all of our merchants. That means anyone who falls within the town of Lake Placid, that they believe that this pertains to them. So I spoke with Jennifer Cotto-Salisbury with Central Florida Regional Planning, and I asked her how, because I previously worked in Bowling Green, and we have this beautiful plan that I'm going to send out to everybody. It's called a Downtown Vision and Action Plan. I wanted to know how they were able to obtain this. Now, they did obtain it through a grant. However, for us, we already have it in our CRA plan to be able to develop a strategic plan. It's already in our initiatives. It would require us coming back before the board and with us voting to be able to revisit our 5-year plan and to have this placed in there. So it's already in our umbrella. And because they are a government entity, we do not have to go out for an RFP. So that means that if we accept, we get it moved over, we say yes, we can go ahead and get them to start working on this. I think that would be very beneficial. Let me tell you just a few things that we've discussed here that they would have taken and been able to alleviate a lot of the stress just off of one of these. They would have looked at our sidewalks and whether we needed to widen them. They would look at our street trees and the legal parameters and for the safety. They would also look at pedestrian lighting to make sure what that entails. Building closest to the sidewalk so that we know the sidewalk proximity, how we have connectivity to other areas to make it a walkable space. They also look at the Main Street amenities. We've talked in the last meeting about the benches and things of that nature. They take all of that into account. They look at the visual interest through windows and also through the murals. So they tie it all in. Then they also look at the height of the tree. They look at where our banners would be located and proximity to it. They basically do all of the work for us. Yes, they do all your work. They also alleviate the stress off of my team, and they're the professionals. So this is what they do. And they give you ideas on where to look at other downtown areas that are very comparable to what we are looking at across, not just in Florida, but across the globe. Now, when they put this plan together, it was a couple years ago, it was actually in 2023, and it was $30,000. Jennifer said that it's probably gone up just a little bit, but not very much. So she plans to discuss this in our council meeting on Monday. She's going to be here, so we're asking anybody who is interested, I would spread the word to our merchants, make sure everybody is aware to come and listen to her, because she's going to have other information that's going to be very helpful, not only for our CRA, but also for the town overall in planning, because there are other planning initiatives where if the stars align and everything works out the way that I'm hoping it does, we will actually end up with possibly 4 plans that will end up overlapping each other, and we would be able to have them coming forth by 2027. So we've been asking for really robust plans. The difference between, tell me who Spring Lake, they use the catalyst. Isn't that who?
Yes.
Okay, so they use the catalyst, but Jennifer explained it to me that the difference is the catalyst and Central Florida Regional Planning are like apples to oranges in the sense of they produce way more. So if you look at the catalyst plan for Spring Lake, it's not as detailed as this. This is a very thick document, and again, I'll email it out so that everybody can get an idea of what it looks like, but they also reference grant opportunities. If you look at the Catalyst plan, it doesn't offer that because Central Florida Regional Planning is a government entity, and so they work for government. They work for us. That's what they do. So I would say, if in my suggestion, for the council to consider that we focus on the areas that we're already focusing on. I know that we already have our 5-year plan, and we have items on our agenda for the 25-26 budget year, but if we could focus on doing our banners, we could focus on looking at the wayfinding, we could look at some of the streetscaping that's already identified in items from the 23-24 budget, but maybe not tap into the other money until we have a true plan so that we're not just picking things and trying to make it happen. I think with a plan, it gives us a guide, and this process does take about 6 to 9 months. So it's not a quick process, but they come to the table, they have all of the community workshops that are needed. That's not typically held here. They will go into the community, they will visit the merchant groups, they will go to the chamber, Keep Lake Placid Beautiful meetings. They will come to all of those, and they hold those meetings for us. So now it's an outside entity that's able to do the legwork for us and then come back with a professional plan that we can use as our guide. And it's a living, breathing document. So they ideally say that every 4 to 5 years you should revisit it and update as needed. The other really amazing thing about this for our town planner is that they look at our current codes. They look at our land development codes. That is all built into this plan, so that it alleviates it from all angles, because that's what they do.
So it's a downtown redevelopment
Yep.
guidebook,
It's
basically.
a vision and action
Yeah.
plan. So they help do the vision casting, they ask what people want to see, and they keep it with our small
So
hometown
who
village.
would pay for that?
And they cost $40,000.
It could be anywhere between
35,
$30,000 to
probably.
$40,000, but our CRA
It's 40
monies
and-
right now can pay for this.
And so, but the catalyst plan, which was less intensive, was 40,000.
Yes.
So this is actually getting more for the money.
Right, oh,
Right.
yeah.
And would this include also a master plan for our parks?
So this does not include the master plan, because this one focuses solely on the downtown
Okay.
area. However.
Oh, that's right, it's CRA,
Yeah,
excuse me.
it's the CRA, but we do have more to discuss. That's to come at our council meeting. So I almost want to do a drum roll in our meeting, so don't be surprised if I don't do that. Just because I think that we do have that in the works.
I missed who you said, does CRA pay for this or town council?
CRA can pay for this. It's already built into our CRA plan. We just need
Do
to
we have
make
it
a
in our
vote.
budget?
Yes,
We have the
well,
funds
it's
in
not
our
in our budget, so we would
So
have
how do
to,
we pay for it?
Do a budget adjustment.
yes.
We could justify- So we could
So-
pull out of maybe Bicentennial Park or something,
Yep.
funds and put towards.
So it's in our charter, it's in our
Okay.
scope of work.
It's in our
Yeah,
scope of work. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. It's
I
in
think
our
it's a
scope
great
of work.
idea. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah,
Now,
I'd
what does
like
it
to-
take to approve that? You talking to town council, and then do you come back to see, or it's town council
In
This-
January, we could make the vote.
in the
In
CRA?
January, you all could make the vote. So
Okay, and
Jennifer
set
will
the
be
money
here
aside.
on Monday,
Okay.
and when she's here on Monday, she's going to discuss this plan along with a few other plans that we believe are going to be very beneficial for us. And then we will come back to our January CRA meeting, And then at that meeting, we would need to look at the budget, so start looking at the budget if that's what you're thinking you want to do.
Where you want to
Identify
funds,
where we're
okay.
going to reallocate the money, because we would have to pull it off of another line item
Yeah.
and put it into this plan.
Yeah.
And she has provided some more documentation that we will have for our council meeting. We didn't have it ready for this meeting, but we will have it in council meeting to discuss and then to be able to bring it back also
Yeah.
for January.
And then, if I understand from what I hear that, okay, so they have grant suggestions that, am I correct, that if you go for a grant and you have backup documentation, you have a much better chance of getting the grant?
Yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
yeah,
Yes, you do.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It sets us up at a much better place. And then, so when you envision all of the different plans, the way they see it is that we have invested, we've put our time in, we've got some skin in the game, and so now we have more that we bring to the table when we're asking for grant dollars.
And we know where we're going.
And we know where we're
We
going.
don't have all these detours like we've had in the past 6 months.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, cool.
It engages everyone, and it takes the town staff a little outside of it, so that this is what they do when they come from outside to be able to look at our community. But Central Florida Regional Planning, they handle the heartland, and so that's what they do. is
That's what they
work-
do, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what they're
exactly
here
what
for.
they do.
So further justification, if it relieves staff man labor, there's probably a trade-off on their labor versus this labor.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. So, more to come. You don't vote, we don't get to vote on it, but it's exciting. I was very excited when she called me, and she was excited because we've been having a lot of different conversations on how we can do this. And keep in mind, because they are a government entity, this, being able to use them works the same way with any other plan that we use. We don't have to go out for bid, we don't have to go out for an RFP or anything of that nature.
And she'll have the exact amount at Monday's meeting to tell the council how much it'll cost? Okay, no, great idea. Yeah, I think
I'm
we need it,
excited.
definitely need it.
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
in, I've read the packet for Monday already. I think
Yeah.
it's in the packet at 40 grand.
Yes, it's
Oh,
in there.
okay,
Yeah.
Great. Okay. If we're done with that, can I ask you about this drawing here? I don't think I see anything on it as far as irrigation, but is irrigation on here, or is it getting added to here?
We're still working on the irrigation
Okay,
piece
sure.
because of the long holiday weekend,
Yeah.
or the long holiday week, they were off.
Okay.
And Harry and Alan have been trying to catch back up with them. I did go
Yeah.
downtown earlier today to try to see what kind of movement was happening. There, I know that we were backed up on certain areas.
Have they fixed all the irrigation problems? No,
No.
they're still doing
No.
that, and
I was
sidewalks
gonna
and
say it's not
curbs.
even close. Harry and Alan, do you want to make any comments? Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So
still
it's
working
been,
on it.
it's
Okay.
been a slow process. but-
Yeah, okay. And now, in regards to the plantings you were talking about, who is Keep Lake Placid Beautiful actively working on what that plant list is? Who's working on the plant list?
I asked Keep Lake Placid Beautiful for their plant list, and
Okay.
because I know that they said that they were going to have some
Yeah.
revisions.
Okay.
Again, I have not received that back yet. I anticipate it should be soon because of the parade. They
Right,
were
and
a
so
little
the,
delayed.
you said the meeting was on December what?
Yes.
19.
19th?
At
what-
8 a.m.
8 in the morning, okay.
8 in the morning.
So-
That's at the chamber.
Yeah, so at that meeting, you expect that they're going to have a written plant list of all the plants to discuss with everybody at Keep Lake Placid Beautiful?
I think
Okay.
so. I think
Yeah,
so.
and then
it'll
with,
be a
I haven't
notice
seen an
meeting,
agenda
'cause
for that
I wanted
yet.
to come too, so it'll be
Yeah.
a notice meeting, and we can all
And
get
then everybody
together.
can participate. That's the idea, is
In-
because we want to be able
yeah.
to have everybody be able to be here.
So
But the
is
19th
this
isn't going to
one
be here,
here?
right?
19, we're
Is here.
asking them to have it here.
Oh, it is
Otherwise,
going to be here. Oh,
We're
okay.
asking them to hold it here because we need to properly notice it.
Oh, okay.
And we
okay.
need to be able to televise it, and just like a normal
Okay,
meeting.
okay.
Yes,
Great.
ma'am.
all right, that's awesome. Cool.
You and I would be sitting at the chamber and everybody else would be here.
Yeah, right, exactly. Glad we clarified that.
Yeah, me too.
We're asking them to move it. I don't believe that they would have any disagreement. but
I doubt
be-
it. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, there's a lot of progress being made, so
Yeah,
super
yeah,
excited about,
I'm
you know.
excited,
I am too.
yeah, the work that everybody's doing.
I say again that when we had the mutual meeting, 3 of us were there, or 4 of us were there. Actually, there were quite a few of us there that were here, and just that, I believe that it was very beneficial. Everybody came to the table, everybody respectfully discussed their concerns, and then came up with a way to be able to move things forward. I think if we can continue in that momentum, that Lake Placid's going to just continue to excel.
No, I agree, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's all good.
And
We're
I-
moving in the
yeah.
right direction.
Yeah, and I appreciate the collaboration between everybody, so you know, I don't care that it's not these pots. I just want pots, you know? Yeah, so,
Well, Ken,
yeah.
I would like to say thank you for your dedication, because you have been very dedicated.
Yeah, I'm
and
kind of pushy, yeah.
You are,
Yeah,
but
you
it's
are,
okay.
But some of us push back.
Yes,
I go like passion. You say you're passionate,
Yeah,
not
passion.
pushy,
There you
not
go.
pushy, passionate.
He's pushy, too.
What typically takes, what could take a year in the private world will take a minimum to 3 to 5 years in the government world. So if we're able to have quicker momentum, we're doing really well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, cool.
But
Awesome.
thank you, everyone.
Okay, well, that concludes our agenda. I'd like to know, is there anything from staff that you wanted to discuss? No? Okay, so Ms. Hayes,
I'm done. I'm good. Thank you.
Mr. LeBlanc?
I'm done.
Okay, anything from our town administrator? Well, I think we've had a great meeting. Thanks,
Did you ask
everybody.
Joy? Did you ask Joy?
She said she's good. Okay, all right, I'll call the meeting over at 4:12.